Hello everybody. Doing a video on Cyte-09 now. I've played him for a little bit now and I found something that I liked, so and also some things that I wish worked different in Warframe. It's not about Cyte-09, it's just overall. For example, it would be I think very nice if you could put one element ability in multiple slots, cause I would like a nourish here on one loadout and that nourish there. But I already pre-recorded one with the other one with the nourish in the other slot, so I'll just put that at the end of the video. Anyways, yeah, basically Seek gives weak spot damage and punch through. So basically with this 145 range you can shoot through almost 15 meters of wall. Also, sorry about my voice, I've been a bit sick. One I replaced is the resupply ability, which is it's nice, but depends on the build if you want to have something else there. Unfortunately, the ability counts as damage increase ability, so if you want a raw on your build, you have to replace that one specific ability because they are the same type of ability. Nourish doesn't count as damage ability, so you can have them both there. Because for some reason that's the only one that's not there. The same category. Mirage Eclipse would also be in the same category and stuff like that. Smite Infusion would also not count as damage ability because it's an infusion through augment. If you wanted to increase damage by some other means, that would also be an option in if you wanted to replace the nourish with some other damage ability. Would be a bit more damage from the bonus alone, because it's 100 radiation to 100 strength instead of 45, but viral and energy multiplier are quite nice. Evade, you just want the invisibility from it, so you want a little bit of duration for that to stay active. And then main thing, for me at least, why most play Cyte is the neutralize. Rank gives you a multiplier and range for the ricochet from range. And then I have efficiency there for a little more duration. And then however you pronounce that for more strength, but mainly the final crit multiplier. This one, if you're comfortable with landing the headshots, this is the very optional, can be anything from energized to damage increasing ones. I actually have velocity there on the other one, and this one has damage on headshot. Don't mind that. I was doing something else with this build. Should be that. Then, because the issue with the nourish being locked to this build right now, I have some energy of effectiveness there. So instead of 25, I get 62.5 per orb. A little bit of duration from there. Right on top. I feel like you definitely want more than 2 seconds and there per kill. Or at very least 2 seconds. But something that helps out with it is if you use Scourge, because Scourge has the unique effect of making the bubbles around people's heads. It started getting more popular with more people realizing that the effect is quite handy over time now. I'm quite happy to see it get some use. Basically it just has, mine has just status chance, and that's very necessary on that, to be honest. Because all you do with it is hope for corrosive and viral on the enemy. You don't necessarily even need any mods because you just want it for the attractor field. Then on the sniper, just a bunch of damage and some fire rate. I myself preferred it with a bit more spammy fire rate. So 90 from here and then 90 or 120. Parcel 90. 180. More fire rate. Especially with the Scorch, you can just hold down the trigger in the direction of the enemies. Sharpshooter helps out with energy, cause neutralizer costs energy per shot and per reload and recasting it. So when you use it with Scourge, because it's a primary, you need to uncast neutralizer to throw down the Scourge, and then you need to pay for the recast in energy again. And I feel like I don't like struggling with energy. That's why a lot of my builds have Arcane Energize, because I don't want to think about the energy management. The energy amounts you get with the Nourish and this is a bit overkill, but it doesn't hurt you. Yeah, basically you have flat damage and headshot multiplier. Then you have the basic crit chance, crit damage, big spot damage and crit chance, which means that we can't use multi-shot because of the, how you pronounce that, acuity. Then we have one elemental there for the big increase in flat damage. And then Galvanize Aptitude to increase the damage a bit more. Because I normally have Dirika or some other companion with Tazika to prime the enemies. So, an extra damage. If you don't feel like using the sharpshooter, then probably Bane mod would be the obvious choice after. Serration, Spectral Serration is high enough damage increase at 330 and then 360 from this means that Serration would only be, how much is it? 15% increase in damage? Something like that, all in all. So it's very negligible and you would be better off with almost anything else. You'll probably get better damage increase from hammer shots and just more crit. Other build, this is a gas option with all of the reds gone. Basically, because the gun has very low status chance, you definitely want to have the multi-shot there. But even with that, having the extra shots and stuff, the status chance is not really high enough to, in my opinion, rock the gas consistently enough, even if you had rank status chance mod there, because it's only extra 6% status chance per 60-60 mod. That would be 22% status chance, and then multi-shot from that on top, so you would get to like 80% chance, something like that, which is not that bad, but in my opinion, if you don't have guaranteed chance to proc at least one gas, I would rather just go for flat damage since it deals enough damage as it is anyways. One of the problems is also the gas damage doesn't increase based on the gas mods that are on the weapon. That's also holding it back a bit. 8 per proc. Then we increase the value of the thing else that gives status. Gas is supposed to deal, well, the gas value is a lot higher now. Yeah. Still just 8 in one stack. Despite of how much more value gas has. Almost 3 times. it gets multiplied by modded base damage, and then status damage, and faction damage. And then on top of that, gas can hit body parts, and it gets the headshot multiplier, which unfortunately is only 1 by default. But if you have something that increases the headshot multiplier, then it's gonna also increase the gas damage. That goes from 1 to 1.3 with the arcane primary deadhead. I will show the damage now. Basically, up close. This is the effect Scorch has on the enemies, and every time that pulse comes up, it refreshes the areas around their heads. When you shoot anywhere in the orb, it's gonna attract the shot the center, which is hopefully the enemy's head. This ones it can hit the like pad they have instead of their head. Keep in mind, I didn't have the base damage mod active because I wasn't invisible. Personally feel like I didn't need the gas because the fire rate on the gun is high enough, and with the dodge you can just toss it into a pile of enemies and shoot in their direction. The enemies will die very easily. Can't really tell where it's flying. Should be good. Let's spawn the crewman. The heavy gunners obviously have pretty high damage reduction, so it's gonna show the actual damage a bit better. Few tens of mils, which is pretty good for what it is. Exalted weapon. Gas 1 gonna be a bit harder to show because enemies don't really move in any helpful way. Another thing, if you want to proc the gas a bit more reliably, I'll just copy this one. Yeah, let's using glide. Well, for now, him gas. This makes proccing it a ton easier because this what is that ability called? Resupply. Resupply always procs the element that you have on the ammo, so this will make you able to actually proc your gas. On the enemies. You're guaranteed to get at least the one gas, and any other gas you proc will just increase the damage and area. As you can see, there's much more gas going around just because of the resupply ability. It's a bit unfortunate because obviously Pro would double dip and increase the damage much more, but being able to overall just proc the damn element is a bit more useful in my opinion. Then the last one, this one, is obviously not for the sniper. Since it doesn't have the sniper. The whole thing. This one is just for well, since Nourish will always proc viral for you, you can select a damage type of your choosing with the resupply, and then you can have a gun that procs some status, for example blast. You can stack those on top of each other to deal a ton of different statuses. Corrosive. Then you can just start jumping on the enemies. Because you're going to now always get the elements. The two elements you got from abilities on top of the ones you have from your weapon, so I think Nourish messes up with the priority for elements and is affected by the normal status chance, but the resupply is an extra hit of that element on top, so that combines nicely with the secondary encounter. So instead of you proccing one status when you have 100% status chance, you would be getting the one proc and then the resupply proc, which means 2 chances for 24% of getting a third random proc, which increases the damage a lot. Not really interested in messing these builds. Well, the blast. A bit difficult to see with how much damage Adamas deals. But it's pretty nice for things that deal damage with statuses. And obviously for weakening enemies with corrosive, if you wanna use that from the resupply, and then bottle from Nourish. Overall, I really liked Cyte-09. It's, in my opinion, one of the more fun frames to play with so far, of the more recent ones. Something Temple I need to do more stuff with, especially with how they changed the status, so I'll probably work on that next. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll have you off with the Nourish version of this build. I hope you have a nice day.